Encargado de una computadora, a component commonly referred to as a graphics card or video card, is an electronic circuit board that creates images for your computer display. Modern GPUs are incredibly complex pieces of hardware, but how did they get this way? Join me as we take a look at the evolution of the PC graphics card from the 1980s to 2025. Let's start out with the 1980s, shall we? This was a time when computers were just starting to become popular in homes and businesses. And because they were so new, people weren't quite sure what to do with them yet. Of course, there were plenty of word processors and basic games available, but the graphical capabilities of the computers at the time were rather limited. The best example of this is IBM's first graphics card, the monochrome display adapter, or MDA, which came out in 1981. As the name suggested, this card was only capable of displaying monochrome text on a black background. It didn't even support any kind of graphical interface. But it was a start. The next year, IBM released the Color Graphics Adapter, or CGA, which supported a resolution of 320 by 200 pixels and up to 16 colors. This was much more suitable for gaming and other graphical applications. But it was still nowhere near what we would consider to be modern graphics card quality. In fact, the CGA wasn't even capable of displaying full-screen 3D graphics until 1987, 5 years after its initial release. That said, it did lay the foundation for what was to come. During the 1990s, 3D graphics started to become more popular. Games like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom showed just how immersive a game could be when played in 3 dimensions, and it wasn't long before hardware manufacturers started to take notice. In 1996, 3DFX released the Voodoo Graphics, one of the first 3D accelerators to gain widespread use. It was followed a few months later by another popular 3D accelerator from another manufacturer, Diamond. These cards were a huge success, and they paved the way for the modern graphics card. By the end of the 1990s, it was clear that 3D graphics were the future, and the race was on to develop the fastest, most efficient 3D accelerator. In 1999, NVIDIA released the GeForce 256, which was marketed as the first GPU graphics processing unit. It featured 4 PI pipelines and was clocked at 143 MHz. Around the same time, ATI released their Radeon 7500, the first product in their new Radeon brand aimed at competing with NVIDIA. This was the beginning of a fierce rivalry between the two companies that continues to this day. In the 2000s, GPUs continued to improve at a rapid pace. In 2004, NVIDIA introduced the 6000 series GPUs, which included the first cards with dedicated hypershading processors. This allowed them to render highly detailed surfaces such as water and smoke more realistically. 2 years later, ATI introduced the first GPU with unified shaders, which eliminated the distinction between vertex shaders and fragment shaders, allowing developers to write more efficient code. As we entered the 2010s, GPUs became even more powerful. In 2012, NVIDIA released the GTX 600 series, which featured support for real-time ray tracing. Ray tracing is a rendering technique that uses algorithms similar to those used in traditional 3D computer animation to generate realistic lighting, shadows, and reflections. This made games look more immersive than ever before. In addition to ray tracing, NVIDIA also introduced their second generation of TXAA, a technology that uses temporal anti-aliasing to eliminate jagged edges. In recent years, AI has started to play a bigger role in graphics cards. In 2018, NVIDIA introduced their Tensor cores, which are dedicated cores for matrix operations used in deep learning. This allows for faster training of AI models, which can then be used to enhance in-game graphics. In 2020, NVIDIA released their RTX 30 series of graphics cards, which feature second-generation ray tracing cores and third-generation tensor cores. These GPUs are some of the most powerful gaming GPUs on the market today. On the AMD side, their RDNA 3 architecture was released in late 2022. While it doesn't have the AI capabilities of NVIDIA's current lineup, it does feature hardware-accelerated ray tracing, and it's quite power efficient. Today's GPUs are incredibly powerful, but it's likely that they will continue to improve in the coming years. One of the ways that they will do this is by continuing to add more cores. More cores means more processing power, which can be used to render more realistic graphics or run multiple applications simultaneously. Another way that GPUs will continue to improve is by increasing the clock speed. Clock speed determines how many operations a GPU can perform per second. Increasing the clock speed will allow for even more realistic graphics and smoother gameplay. GPUs have come a long way since the days of the monochrome display adapter. They've gone from being simple 3D accelerators to being essential components for gaming and other graphically intensive applications. Today's GPUs are incredibly complex pieces of hardware, but they've come a long way, and it's likely that they will continue to improve in the coming years. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll have GPUs capable of rendering virtual worlds so realistic that we can't tell them apart from the real world. If that happens, I guess it'll be time to start wearing those VR headsets. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tech history content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.